Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, diving deep into some pretty big news stories.
Yeah, some big ones this week.
Yeah, we got some government reports, articles about cybersecurity,
Oh,
and a peek behind the curtain at the CIA.
my favorite.
By the end of this, you'll have a much better understanding of how AI, cybersecurity, and international relations
It's all connected.
are all intertwined.
It's all a big web, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're watching a spy movie unfold in real time, but the stakes are even higher because
way higher.
this tech has the potential to reshape the whole global landscape.
And speaking of spy movies,
Yeah.
we've got this image from the Santa Fe Mexican
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
article. It shows a group of people huddled around a phone, but they're not checking social media.
What are they doing?
They're looking at a chatbot
What?
developed by the CIA.
Oh, wow.
And get this,
Wow.
this chatbot is designed to simulate world leaders.
So this is a crazy
It's a game changer. The CIA has been working on this for about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. And it represents a fundamental shift in how intelligence is gathered and analyzed.
Wow.
Imagine being able to use a chatbot to understand how a foreign leader might react in a certain situation or to predict their next move on the world stage.
Yeah, that's like having a secret weapon in international negotiations.
Exactly. You get a glimpse into their strategy before you even sit down at the table.
Yeah, and former CIA Director William Burns called AI the agency's latest high-tech arms race.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Well,
quote.
you know they're taking this seriously.
Absolutely. This isn't just about gathering intel. It's about using AI to outmaneuver adversaries and gain a strategic advantage.
Okay, so let's switch gears from the CIA to President Trump's recent executive order.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like he's decided to rescind the Biden administration's regulations on AI.
So this is big. The Biden administration had put in place a lot of rules around AI, things like mandatory safety testing and data sharing requirements. But now, under Trump, AI developers have a lot more freedom to innovate and experiment,
Yeah,
which could lead to a boom in new AI technologies.
but wouldn't fewer regulations also increase the risk of AI being developed in ways that could be harmful or even dangerous?
That's a valid concern. There are definitely risks associated with a more hands-off approach, and this is going to be a topic of intense debate moving forward.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds.
Speaking of interesting developments, the cyber briefing also mentioned that TikTok CEO Shou Zichu was at Trump's inauguration.
Yeah, you saw that.
Now, this is interesting considering all the security concerns around TikTok during the last administration.
Right.
Trump even threatened to ban the app entirely.
Yeah, he did.
But now it seems like...
It changed your heart.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, this wasn't just a fleeting appearance. Chu was prominently featured at the inauguration, suggesting a potential shift in Trump's stance on TikTok.
Yeah.
And perhaps even a broader change in his approach to technology and national security. And remember, Trump also decided to keep TikTok operational for another 75 days,
Right.
which gives some time to work things out.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there were some behind-the-scenes negotiations happening that we're not privy to.
Maybe some sort of agreement was reached that led to this sudden change of heart.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to watch. The dynamics between the tech world and the government are constantly evolving, and this is a prime example of how quickly things can change.
Okay, let's move on to a topic that affects all of us. Cybersecurity.
Um,
The cyber briefing is packed with stories about data breaches and vulnerabilities.
yeah, it's scary out there.
It's enough to make you want to unplug from the internet altogether.
I know. I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
It's understandable to feel that way.
Okay.
Cybersecurity threats are becoming increasingly sophisticated, and no one is immune.
Yeah.
We see breaches happening across all sectors, from government agencies to private businesses to individuals.
The sheer number of attacks is mind-boggling. Like, space companies are even raising concerns about inconsistent and overly classified cyber threat intelligence,
I read about that.
which is impacting their ability to protect both ground and orbital assets.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to defend a satellite from a cyber attack with limited information?
That's terrifying.
It's a nightmare scenario.
It really highlights the challenges of operating in a new frontier like space.
For sure. And it's not just space companies that are struggling.
Yeah.
The healthcare industry continues to be a prime target for cyber criminals.
Really?
In 2024 alone, over 180 million user records were compromised in healthcare data breaches.
Wow.
Security Week's analysis of the HHS OCR database paints a pretty grim picture.
And it's not just big corporations that are vulnerable.
Well, not at all.
Like the cyber briefing highlights a breach at Hotelier,
I saw that.
a hotel management software company.
Yeah.
The personal information of 500,000 hotel guests was exposed.
Oh, no.
These attacks are happening everywhere, and the methods used are constantly evolving. We see examples of Python-based bots exploiting vulnerabilities in PHP servers for gambling platforms.
Yeah, I read about that one.
And a potential breach at HTE where a hacker claims to be selling sensitive data.
It's a constant cat and mouse game between cybersecurity professionals and the hackers.
And it's not just about stealing data anymore.
No, it's not.
These attacks can disrupt critical infrastructure, manipulate financial markets, and even influence elections.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to stay informed about the latest threats and vulnerabilities.
So how do we do that?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something we'll delve into as we continue our deep dive into these events.
Okay, so stay tuned. We've got much more to cover.
Much more to unpack.
In this deep dive.
This will be good.
So we've talked about the CIA using AI chatbots and the surge in cyber attacks. But there's one major player we haven't really touched on yet.
Who's that?
China.
Ah, yes, China.
China's role in the global cybersecurity landscape is becoming increasingly complex.
And unsettling.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of tension and accusations.
Yeah, the cyber briefing mentions the Treasury Department just slapped sanctions on a Chinese company.
Yeah, I saw that.
And a hacker
Huh?
linked to some pretty serious attacks on U.S. Treasury and telecom companies.
Yeah, those are some big ones.
And then there's the Philippines arresting a Chinese national suspected of spying on critical infrastructure.
I read about that too.
It feels like every other day.
Yeah.
There's a new headline about cybersecurity in China.
It's definitely a growing concern. What's particularly concerning is that these incidents highlight how interconnected everything is in today's world.
Right.
An attack in one country can have ripple effects across the globe.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity isn't just a national issue anymore. It's a global one that demands international cooperation.
And it seems like the U.S. government is starting to take a more aggressive stance.
Oh, yeah.
The cyber briefing talks about a new FCC ruling that requires telecom providers to secure their networks against Chinese cyber threats.
Wow.
This is a pretty big deal, right?
It is. It signifies a shift in strategy, prioritizing a more proactive approach to cybersecurity.
Right.
But it also raises some important questions.
Like what?
Like, how do we balance national security concerns with the need for international cooperation?
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Especially since we're so reliant on global networks and interconnected systems.
Exactly.
Like alienating a major player like China could have unintended consequences, potentially making us even more vulnerable.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah.
And it's one that will likely define the future of global relations.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on the international front.
We have.
But let's circle back to the CIA for a moment.
Okay.
We've already talked about their AI chatbots.
Right.
But the Santa Fe Mexican article
yeah.
also gives us a glimpse into some internal changes happening within the agency.
So there's a fascinating story about former CIA Chief Technology Officer Nand Mulchandani and his efforts to modernize the agency's approach to technology. He basically spearheaded a cultural shift within the CIA, recognizing that in a world dominated by data and digital advancements, they needed to adapt or risk being left behind.
So it's not just about having the latest gadgets and gizmos.
Yeah.
It's about changing the way people think and operate.
Exactly.
That's got to be tough in a place like the CIA.
It is.
Which is known for its secrecy and tradition.
It definitely wasn't easy. But Mulchandani was determined to bring the CIA into the 21st century.
So how did he do that?
He created a dedicated space on the 7th floor of CIA headquarters, nicknamed Silicon Valley on the 7th floor.
Wow, so you're telling me there's a mini Silicon Valley tucked away inside the CIA.
It's a space designed to encourage innovation and collaboration, where CIA officers could experiment with new technologies and ideas.
That's wild. It really shows you how important it is to adapt and embrace new ideas.
It does.
Even in the most traditional institutions.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of innovation and the need to constantly evolve in order to stay ahead of the curve.
And this applies not just to intelligence agencies,
No?
but to any organization or individual operating in today's rapidly changing world.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that we can all benefit from a little bit of that Silicon Valley mindset.
We can.
Even if we're not developing top secret spy technology.
For sure.
Being curious, open to new ideas, and willing to experiment is crucial for success in any field.
Couldn't agree more. It's about fostering a culture of continuous learning and adaptation.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's one of the things I find so fascinating about this deep dive.
What's that?
It's bringing together all these seemingly disparate topics,
Yeah.
AI, cybersecurity, international relations, the culture at the CIA,
Yeah.
and showing how interconnected they really are.
It really makes you realize how much is happening behind the scenes.
It does.
And how these seemingly unrelated events are all part of a bigger picture.
And that bigger picture is being shaped by technology.
Which is advancing at an incredible pace.
Yeah.
AI is becoming increasingly intertwined with global politics and cybersecurity, and the stakes are higher than ever before.
Okay, so we've talked about AI, cybersecurity, international relations, and even gotten a peek inside the CIA.
We have.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
What are some of the key takeaways we should be focusing on here?
I think the main takeaway is that we're living in a world where technology is rapidly reshaping everything around us.
Yeah.
From how we communicate to how wars are fought to how governments operate.
Right.
And AI is at the forefront of this transformation.
It's not just some futuristic concept anymore. AI is here. It's being used in ways that most people aren't even aware of.
Right.
And it's going to have a profound impact on our lives.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to stay informed and engaged.
Okay.
This isn't just about geeking out on the latest gadgets. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping our world and taking an active role in shaping the future. So what can we do to navigate this increasingly complex landscape and make sure we're not just swept along by the tide of technological advancement?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And honestly, there's no easy answer.
Okay.
But I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
We need to be aware of the potential benefits and risks of these technologies. We need to understand how they're being used and who's controlling them.
Right.
And we need to have open and honest conversations about the kind of future we want to create.
Okay, so awareness is key.
It is.
But what about concrete steps? What can we do as individuals to protect ourselves and ensure we're not left behind in this technological revolution?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll delve into in more detail as we wrap up our deep dive.
Okay, so where do we go from here? We've uncovered a lot of unsettling stuff.
We have.
From AI spy games to escalating cyber threats.
Yeah, it can feel kind of overwhelming.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed and maybe even a bit powerless.
I get that. But feeling powerless isn't the answer.
Right.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more we understand these issues, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions and navigate the challenges ahead.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not like we can all become cybersecurity experts overnight.
True.
What can the average person actually do to protect themselves?
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of it comes down to basic digital hygiene.
Okay, like what?
Like, use strong, unique passwords
Okay.
for each of your online accounts and enable two-factor authentication wherever possible.
Right.
And be wary of phishing scams.
Yeah, those are everywhere.
Don't click on suspicious links
Okay.
or open attachments from unknown senders.
That's good advice. It's easy to get complacent and just click through things without thinking,
It is.
but those little decisions can have big consequences.
Absolutely. And keep your software updated.
Okay.
Those updates often include security patches
Right.
that protect you from known vulnerability.
Okay.
It's like locking your doors. It might not stop the most determined criminals,
Yeah.
but it makes you a less appealing target.
Right. It's about minimizing risk,
Yeah,
not eliminating it entirely.
exactly.
Because let's face it, in
No.
today's world, there's always going to be some level of risk.
Absolutely. And it's not just about protecting ourselves.
Okay.
It's about being informed citizens and engaging in these important conversations.
Rawr.
The future of AI and cybersecurity isn't predetermined. It's being shaped right now
Bye.
by governments, corporations, and individuals like us.
So we have a role to play.
We do.
Even if it's not as glamorous as being a CIA tech officer,
Right.
what would you say is the most important thing listeners should take away from this deep dive?
If I had to boil down to one thing, it would be this. Stay curious.
Ooh, I like that.
Keep asking questions. Keep learning. And don't be afraid to challenge assumptions.
Okay.
The world is changing faster than ever, and the only way to keep up is to remain open to new information and new ways of thinking.
I love that. Stay curious. It's simple, but it's so powerful.
It is.
And speaking of staying curious, I encourage everyone to check out the original articles we discussed today.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
They go into more detail on these topics and provide even more food for thought.
Those articles are a great starting point
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to delve deeper into these issues.
Right.
And there are tons of other resources out there, too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Books, podcasts, documentaries, online forums.
Mm-hmm.
The information is there if you're willing to seek it out.
Absolutely. And don't stop there.
No, keep going.
Talk to your friends and family about these issues.
Yes. Good idea.
Share what you've learned. The more we talk about these things, the more likely we are to find solutions and create a future where technology works for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. This isn't just about bits and bytes and lines of code. It's about people.
Yeah.
It's about our values, our priorities, and the kind of world we want to live in. And that's a conversation we all need to be a part of.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been a fascinating and at times a little unnerving journey.
It has.
But ultimately, I think it's left us with more knowledge and a greater sense of agency.
I agree.
We're not just passive bystanders in this technological revolution.
We're not.
We're active participants, and we have the power to shape the future.
We do. It's been a pleasure exploring these topics with you, and I hope our listeners are leaving with a renewed sense of curiosity and a desire to keep learning.
That's the deep dive for today. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, stay curious.